morning and welcome back to Adam's Saruwatari Xtreme. Today you're riding with me in the 355. My good friend Adam, pretty good name, constantly asks me why I don't drive the 355 more. Well, my friend, the answer is quite simple. Not enough time. But the car needed to be driven, the AC needed to be cycled, so today I took the time to go ahead and rearrange the cars to get it out, which also takes an incredible amount of time. But everything is good in the world again because now I'm on the road. And the 355 is a great car to drive. Adam loves the 355, except not this particular 355, because Adam is a purist. So he loves the manual transmission, whereas this is an F1. For me, this is a car to go with because I spent all my racing career driving manual transmissions, and the automated manual is a nice car to drive every now and then, as 50% of my cars are true manuals and 50% are automated manuals. But the 355 is a love-hate relationship for me because when I got this car, I didn't know much about cars, and unfortunately I didn't do a lot of studying and research, which I would highly recommend all of you do when you're looking at cars like Ferraris, Lambos, McLarens. Because I wasn't prepared for this car to have a $8,000 timing belt change that, depending on who you talk to, should be done every 3 to 5 years. Some say 5,000 miles, some say more, but typically it is a time issue that causes the belts to come up. And when you're working on cars like these, they are mechanical and everything functions somewhat similar to other cars you'll work on, but parts are very, very expensive. So what I would advise is always weighing your options. Could I do the timing belt at my shop? Yes. Could I possibly screw up? For sure. The problem being is that you pay a shop like Fast Cars to take care of my car, $7,000, $8,000, and you're good for quite some time. If you take it on yourself, you're definitely going to save some money, although the parts are still fairly expensive. But what if an accident takes place? And when I say an accident, I mean, I don't know, the tool holding the cam gear slips, timing's off, tag a valve, bend a valve, well then all of a sudden you're looking at a $20,000 bill. So for me, it's just easier to pay the $7,000 or $8,000, let the liability fall on their shoulders, and it's all good for me. I enjoy it, it gets work done while I can work on other things that I want to work on. But as far as the timing belt itself, I think the first time I did it, I waited around 6 years, and the next time I did it, I waited around 7 years. But each time, JC being JC, the engineer of all engineers, took my belt and sent it to the lab. So he was monitoring the life because, as a lot of you know, he drives a 550, so he wants to know for his belts as well. But these are Kevlar backed, and the lab said they believed it would have gone an easy 10 years. Will I wait that long? I don't know, maybe. It kind of depends on what I'm up to. Would I advise you guys doing it? It really depends on your threshold for pain. If I was to lose the belt and I was gambling on the 10 years, if I had to pay the amount to fix it, that's fine with me. But odds are, if the lab says it's going to be okay, there's a pretty good chance everything will fall into place. Just for those of you that are thinking of the 355 or other Ferraris that have timing belts, which are just insane. But other than that, I like the car. It's more of a classic type car. And of course, it is the first Ferrari that I got. Therefore, I want to hang on to it and hopefully pass it on to Natalia. What she does with it, nobody knows. But getting into today's video, the reason why we're in the 355 is when sponsors provided the 355 for me, Abel was off doing something much different. He and his brother Chato were working on an RX-7 to crush my RX-7, and it would in every way, except there were some minor or major snags, depending on how you look at it, that came up with the NHRA. But I'll let Abel explain that to you. So let's take a look at one of my favorite FDs, Chato's FD. I have an insanely cool thing for all of you. I don't know if any of you know, but Abel's brother Chato is actually his crew chief. And at events, I was so envious of him as well. So you have Abel up here with all the most insane looking women. And a close second was always his brother Chato, and he's a hell of a nice guy. Now, what most of you probably don't know is that Chato also has an FD. And this FD is way better than my car, contrary to what everyone says. It just hasn't had a chance to spread its wings. But my friends, today, we're gonna get an inside look from the man. Abel has told me that he will show the car to us. Again, bro, thank you so much. My God, you've done so much for us. It's just incredible.
No problem, Adam. Glad I can just show you the car.
Yes, my man. And this, I mean, everyone loves the FD, the RX-7, and this thing is just phenomenal. Can you give us a full walk around of this?
Yeah, it's a sad story what happened. I'll give you a little breakdown. So basically, we were building the car to go run in the class in front of you and below me in the modified class. And NHRA had set aside a set of rules. So we built the car to those rules, and right as the year came up and we were getting ready to debut it and take it to the track, because of certain manufacturers and racers that came in, NHRA changed the rules and catered to them, which basically put us at like a 400 to 500 pound disadvantage. And we were like, you know what? Car's already painted, car's already done. We're not gonna tear it up and mess it up anymore. And we're just gonna leave it alone. And we decided not to race it no more. And the car's been sitting ever since, which is a shame because the car is really beautiful. It's really, really what you would consider a sleeper racer, because it doesn't look like a full-out drag car. It's really sleek, but in reality, you know, you can make it a street car, full drag car, whatever you want it to. And it's got a bunch of really, really good components. So we'll start by showing you guys the engine and give you a little breakdown. So basically, this engine is the same one, or one of my engines that I had in my 3rd gen FD race car, the one that I won all those championships and broke records with the exception of we put an intercooler and a different size intake style intake manifold on here. So we were expecting to make over 1,000 horsepower with this combination at the time, which would have put us in the low 7 second range back then. Low 7 second range. And as you can see, the car has all the top of the line components, real nice wiring job, Motec, race pack, the turbo, the liquid to air intercooler. We did some trick stuff where we had them incorporated into the bumper, some aluminum ducts that go in here and feed air into the turbo.
Guys, that's freaking amazing. That is incredible.
One thing we didn't want to do is we didn't want to make it to where it was a race car and it took from the integrity away of an FD, because the FDs are so beautiful. So we tried to leave the body as stock as possible. We just added a wing, didn't do anything else to it. We did actually a mini tub. It's not a full tub, it's a mini tub. It does have a solid axle, but it's a mini tub. And we left the full interior. Chato decided he wanted to do a full, nice custom interior, as you can see, Adam.
Man, guys, just look at that.
Nice. The windows roll up, the sunroof works, the turn signals work. I mean, everything works. If you look at it, everything's there. Everything's there.
Guys, this is just top line stuff. This is just what you expect from Abel, his brother, his family. They're all insane car nuts. But when I look at this, what I'm thinking is maybe Abel and I could just take this, and can you imagine the amount of females we would attract in this car? What do you think, brother? Do you think we might be able to take this out and your brother wouldn't, like, I don't know, murder us?
We'd have to sneak it out. We'd have to sneak it out and change a couple of things. But yeah, you're right. I think even with today's standards at the car shows and stuff, if you go to, it still stands out and would win a lot of first places. We took it to the Grand National Roadster Show a couple of years back, and it won first place. And even like your typical American street rod style people, they loved it. They were like, wow, we can't believe the quality of the build and how nice the car is. But you know, we did everything as best as we could. We bought as many new parts as we could from Mazda. We were assembling, you know, it's got new glass in it, new moldings. So basically every single part on this car is brand new.
Man, and the interior just looks incredible, man. You guys did such a phenomenal job. My car pales in comparison to this car. Man, and Abel, can you please tell us how much this car roughly weighs? Because with that full interior, this bad boy looks like it's got some weight on it.
Yeah, well, the good thing is that, you know, when we did take it apart, we fully gutted it, and we only left the components that were needed. And the interior, even though it looks big and bulky, it's made with all good lightweight materials and the way it was designed and made. So the car's right around like 2,300 pounds. It's not that heavy. It's actually pretty light.
Translation, guys, this thing's a rocket ship, and it looks phenomenal. the type of bills everybody loves. I mean, and we'll just kind of sneak around here. It's a little bit tight, but you can kind of get a look at the wing Abel was talking about. Bro, can you give us any information about what's going on in the rear end area?
Yeah, it's got a solid 4 9-inch in it with the 4-lane. Like I said, we mini tubbed it. It's not all the way full raced out in the back. And actually, if we wanted to put the IRS back in it, we could. I think the plan, that's what the plan's gonna be. We're gonna pull the 2-rotor out. We're gonna pull all the drag racing setup out. And our plan is to put a 4-rotor turbo in it. And he wants to put it back on the street. You know, not daily it, but once in a while take it to Cars and Coffee, go to the shows, and actually drive it on the street and enjoy it a little bit instead of just making it a full race car, you know, and where he only goes out to the track, because the track is rough on cars. It does tend to beat them up no matter how careful you are with them. So that we're just going to convert it back to a street car and put a 4-rotor in it.
Guys, as we talked about earlier, of course, I recommend going to see my bro here if you're going to build anything. But he said something that's very important, okay? 2 things you want to take away from this that are serious, on a serious note. And that is, if you're going to spend all this money to build a car, check the rules. And the problem is that the reality is there's a lot of politics in what goes on. So you want to just try and not get caught behind the 8 ball. Look at all the money, time, and investment that went into this car. And they just changed the rules on them. So, you know, the serious note, be careful of that. And the second thing is that this car also can be converted back. You guys that are all building and chop everything off, of course, Abel would never do that. But if you do, even take it somewhere else. Try to always leave an out, because what happens if you want to go back? If everything's missing, it's either almost impossible or it's going to cost you a fortune. What is your thoughts on that, my man?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing we were adamant about when we built it. We didn't chop nothing on the car. So even like the transmission mounts and everything, we can pull those out and still bolt on stock transmission mounts if we wanted to. The same thing as up in the front engine bay. We didn't cut anything that was crucial or necessary. So if you wanted to put the stock FD engine in it, you could. We could bolt the stock frame back on. The subframe we actually made, it bolts on where the stock subframe location went. So that's one thing that we were crucial. As you can see through the firewall, all those little bits and holes, I mean, everything is still there. So if we wanted to put it back to normal, we could. You know, we're not into hacking cars up and messing them up where they're good for one thing only and there's no point of return. And I think most customers, they want to have that option. What about if I don't want to be a race car anymore, or if I don't want all this power, can I go back? Sure, we leave stuff so where you can always go back.
Something else you guys might want to look at that Abel is very smart at, it's marketing, okay? So if you look in the shop, do you notice a common theme? All of the cars, the R100, the 8, Chato's FD, they all share that similar paint scheme. That adds value to his sponsorship package. That is, of course, why he is so heavily sponsored. Remember, if you have multiple cars, like I know most of you do, and you are looking for sponsorship, everything counts. Would you agree with that, my man?
Mm-hmm. You know, there's an image. You know, sponsors are going to sponsor you. Let's be realistic. If they're going to give something up, what are they going to get in return? So once you create yourself with them and a branding, the more things you have that people can recognize for you, then the easier it makes it for everyone, and the better and the most exposure everyone gets.
Well, guys, there you have it. Advice from the seasoned veteran, #1, numero uno, right there, my bro. So in any case, guys, we are so lucky to get a look at Chato's car. It's basically a sleeper. Hardly anyone ever gets to see it. I'm just lucky enough that I'm friends with Abel, and you guys are lucky enough because you're riding with me. In any case, bro, thank you so much. That was so awesome, my man. I love seeing the car. And on that note, we'll see you next time. Well, I hope all of you enjoyed checking out Chato's FD. What a phenomenal car. All of Abel's cars, all of Abel's brothers' cars, they do a phenomenal job. And what you didn't hear off camera is Abel is very particular, just like myself. Who's more particular? I don't know. It would probably depend on who you ask. But since the rules had changed and that car was not able to compete in the class they designed it for, they are actually planning to convert it back to drive every day, like we talked about. And I asked him if he has any desire just to run it a few times so they could go much faster myself. And his answer was simply no. We'll convert it back because he said, Adam, as you know, if we take it out there, the car's going to get beat up. Wow, how things change. Abel and I both have the same view of that. Before, for Abel at least, it was all about go as fast as possible, just win, doesn't matter. But even he now is saying it's better to try and take them out of competition or not even start if they're just going to get beat up. And really that's what happens. I mean, you all know my road racing escapades with the FD, the 7, and that's why I didn't go in that route. Drag racing, of course, is better, but man, it's still brutal on the car. Constant trips to the paint shop, mishaps, too many people working on the car. It's just a way of life. But that car is amazing. I can't wait till he converts it back to street, and he and I will probably go cruising around. Well, on that high note, my friends, it's time to sign off. So hope you have a great weekend. See you next time.